How's everybody doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. It's time for another edition of Story Time, except this one has been specifically cut for a holiday, and that would be, of course, Christmas. I like to let people know whether or not it's a true story. It is not a true story. It's a story in which I created. The name of the story is called Christmas Adventure. So let's go ahead and start, shall we? There was this woman, she was in her mid-30s. Her name was Raven. And the backstory is on Raven. She's a native of Alaska. She was born there, she was raised there, she went to school and college. And her job is that she is a seaplane pilot. And she does all of these different services for all of these different people, including the United States military and the private sector. So what she does is, in the summertime, she goes and delivers military hardware. Some of this hardware is not really that big, maybe a doorknob, maybe some sort of thing for aircraft, very small. Because the plane that she's flying around in is not her personal plane. It's a plane that is, for the most part, given to her by the company in which she works. And she flies all over into these remote areas that you can't get to. Not even by boat. Because it would just take too long to bring a little boat in there to make some sort of delivery. So she picks it up, whether it be in Canada, or whether it be in Washington State, or whether it be in Anchorage, or pick a place. If it's from the mainland United States, or if it's from Canada, they ship it to Anchorage. She picks it up in Anchorage. She gets in her little plane there, and she flies out to all these remote areas. Well, earlier, when she was in her early 20s and she was going to college, because once she got out of school, she decided she was going to go into bartending. She's going to make all this money, so that way she could finance herself through college to become a seaplane pilot. Well, her dad came to Alaska in the mid-60s and decided he was going to raise a family and make it his home. And that's what he did. See, her dad was a mechanic for all of these big companies, not just one company, but all these different companies, all at the same time. He worked at a specific shop that would service all these big, huge trucks and tractors and scrapers and name it. He knew how to do it because he was a full-fledged mechanic. For the most part, he dealt with diesel. He dealt with all these vehicles that were working in the oil fields and working at these mines and working in the logging industry. He was making pretty good money. He wasn't rich, but he certainly wasn't poor. About middle class. Well, he helped Raven go to school as well on the financial end, but she paid for most of it. So that's the backstory of her. Well, you see, old Raven, she decides that she's going to work for another company, a brand new company. She's got so many hours of fly time. Plus, she worked at the bar for years upon years at the same time while she's working full-time as a seaplane pilot. But only in the summer times, because you can't be landing those types of planes on ice or chunks of ice in the water, or you damage the plane. So they're talking to her about scheduling, and they're trying to figure out, okay, well, what hours did you want to work? She's like, I want to work full time. That's why I decided to be a seaplane pilot, because I want to make this my lifetime career. So they're going through all the maps, and they're going through, okay, you need to make this route, and you got to go this route here, and you got to fly to this one here, and this is how you get there, and they got all the schematics, they got all the materials and all the companies they're working with, right? So the first week there, she's sort of in training. She knows what she's doing. She's got all these hours when it comes to flying. She's very experienced. So about 2 weeks later, she gets a call And they're like, okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to put you on this schedule, and we're going to work you for 6 hours a day. So you need to make 3 runs in 6 hours. So you have to make your delivery, come back, refuel. We'll do a good check on the plane there, and then you'll take off and do it all over again. But you have to do 3 in a day. Can you do it? She said, absolutely. And if somebody doesn't show up on a Saturday or a Sunday, I'll be happy to do that too. So hell, she's putting some more hours in, because that's her whole idea, is to put in these hours. So she gets a call from the owner and says, listen, I have a delivery. One of our fellows is going on a vacation, and we were wondering if you would take his Sunday shift. She's like, absolutely. I tell you what, she's the hardest worker, and she's good looking too. She got red hair, fair skin. Good place to be if you got fair skin. Living in Alaska, it's snowing most of the time. She's about 5'7", 140 pounds. I'm talking about perfect. Perfect. Oh yeah. So anyway, the ship that she's supposed to take, the first place she's supposed to be at, is a location called Perf Beach. That's P-E-R-F. This place is beautiful too. It's shaped like a U. You see, this part of the U here is a dirt road. And at the end of the dirt road is all your water here, see? But there's a tower with a big old light blinking for navigation. So when the boats are traveling around in the water, they know that that is Perf Beach. Right? On this side, there's another dirt road with another tower that's blinking a light. It's all surrounded by water here, right? Now, technically, Perf Beach is on an island, technically. It's really not an island, but technically it is. In other words, it's impassable when there's snow on the ground. But when there's not snow on the ground, back in the early 70s, 1970s, all the loggers had built a custom-made road out of logs. So what they did is they took like an auger, they drilled down during the summertime, about 8 feet deep. They put these logs in this way, like telephone poles, straight down. They lined them all up, and then they put slats across, and they built a bridge going from the main part of the Alaska, crossing over to the smaller island, right? So what she was to do is she was supposed to deliver medication. A little bit of medication with some paperwork, and she had to put it in a yellow box that was nailed to a tree, and that she'd lift up the lid, place the medication with the paperwork in there. Then she'd go back to her plane, take off, and go to the next place, see? So Sunday, here it is, a beautiful day. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Month of July, about the first week of July, and it is absolutely gorgeous. She's up in that plane. It's just as noisy as can be. She's got a little bit of medicine. She's got the other packages that she needs to make the delivery. She's got 2 others deliveries to make after she makes it to Perf Beach, but she's never landed at Perf Beach. But why do they call it Perf Beach? Because the beach is perfect. It is perfect. It's such fine sand. There's no rocks and that sticking out of the water. There's no trees. I mean, it is perfect. It's as if you were on a beach in Hawaii. It's absolutely perfect. Real soft sands and white sands, and you got to walk about 100 feet up before you get into like vast forest and such. Oh, it's awesome. So she sees the U because old Perf Beach is in this side of the U. Of course, you got the dirt road over here with a flashing light. So she sees it from the air. She comes in. She starts dropping elevation. She slashes on the water there. And she's coming in a little bit too fast. She shouldn't have been coming in that fast, but she did. She never landed there before. She's trying to pull back a little bit, slow herself down, but the plane's still going. And it runs right into the sand and gets stuck in that real soft sand. Oh boy, this is not good. and the water's real shallow, but she's got to make that delivery, so that's top priority. She's going to deal with that plane later. Or excuse me, she's going to deal with that plane being stuck in the sand later. So what she does, she hops out because she's got on her waders. It's like overalls, but it's all waterproof, so she doesn't get her feet and her ankles and legs all wet and that when she jumps out in the water from her seaplane, right? She jumps out, she's got the paperwork, she's got the little medication, and she's also got an ice stake. Now an ice stake is like a piece of metal with a little loop in it. She goes over there and she ting, 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 puts that ice stake into the ground with a little bitty sledgehammer. She ties off her plane just in case. I mean, it's stuck, but what if it was to unstuck itself? She can't have her plane floating away, right? So she hops out and she does all that and she walks over. She's looking at a little map there. First time she's been there, she's going to be looking to the yellow box that's nailed to the tree. Hell, it's about 150 feet away. She just barely see it. She's walking up on it. She comes to it. It's a big old box, too. It's about like this. Right? It's got a little lid on it. Lifts up. She places the medication in there with the paperwork. Closes the lid. She walks on back to the plane. She's looking at the plane. She's thinking, oh, man, this is not good. Because she's got to make 2 other stops yet. So she's trying to push on everything she got. She's pushing on. She cannot budge that plane because that plane weighs a hell of a lot more than she does. I mean, hell, she's 5'7", about 145 pounds, right? It ain't budging. She starts screaming. She's like, come on. She's pushing on it, and it is not budging, boy. It ain't. She gets a little tear in her eye because she's thinking, oh, she's going to have to get on her satellite phone. Because I tell you what, you ain't got no cell service out there. The only way you're going to communicate with the outside world, she's going to have to get up on her radio or get on her satellite phone. She doesn't want to do that because then they'd have to send yet another plane, kind of tow her out of there. How embarrassing. That'd be a strike. She's new with the company. Right? All of a sudden she hears this voice, excuse me. Who the hell would be out here? That's this fella. His name is Nick. Oh, yeah. He's not a real muscular guy, but he's fit. Let me tell you that right now. He's standing there with his arm, and he's like, you having a problem? She's like, yeah. He goes, looks like you need a hand. She's like, yeah. She's being a little bit snotty with him. It's not time to be snotty with somebody when you need help, right? So he walks over there and he goes, all right, let's see if we can do it. She's trying to show him the best places to push on because she knows they're playing inside now, right? They're both pushing on this. It ain't moving, buddy. It is not moving. It's a big problem. Nick says, hang on a second, I got an idea. Well, you see, Nick, the reason why he's there is because he owns a mining claim on that little island there. And he's working. That's what he does on his summers. Actually, he's from Montana. That's where he's originally from. But he saved up all his money working in Montana at the ranches. He also worked at oil fields in South North Dakota. He saved up all this money and he's actually leasing this mining claim. Everything he finds, he's got to give 10% to the owner. And then he pockets 90%. That's a pretty good deal, right? So he's there, he's got a big old Suburban 4-wheel drive, it's navy blue, and it's got a V8. Now let me tell you something right now, ladies might rule the world, but the men power it. You got that? That's just the way it goes. That's the way it works. Because the men have the upper strength, their upper body strength. Or they have the ingenuity to get things done. Without whining, snibbling, crying about this, that, and the other. So the women can rule the world all they want. But the men are the power behind it. Right? So he goes in there and he goes in the back of his Suburban where he keeps his metal protectors. Both long and short. And his shovels and his food. And he's got a little rollaway. Blankets and such. Right? He goes in there and he gets himself some Kevlar. He walks over there to Raven. He says, listen, I got 1,000 feet of Kevlar. I have an idea. I'm going to pull you out. I'm going to pull this plane out with my truck. With my Suburban. She looks at him and said, no, you're not. Oh, let me guess. Does your Suburban float? No, my Suburban doesn't float. Again, she's being kind of snotty with him, and she doesn't understand what he has in his mind. He's going to use this thing called ingenuity, right? He's going to use his brain to get her out of the pickle that she's in, because she's in a bad pickle, and she's got to make 2 other runs to boot, right? He goes, now listen, pay attention. He's trying to explain it to her because it's not his plane. It's her plane. It's not even her plane. She's kind of just borrowing it so she can work. Now, pay attention. This is what we're going to do. This is Kevlar. This is the strongest rope to man. And it really is. Kevlar is a rope that is flat. And it'll pull 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. It won't even break. You just wouldn't even believe it. You'd look at it and say, no way. But yes. And it really does exist. It's called Kevlar. He said, now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use the shoestring so I can learn you, I can teach you on what he's going to do so you understand it. Now see, U Beach is positioned like this. This is a dirt road here, a dirt road here. There's a tower here with a light blinking for navigation for all the other boats. They also have other loops here that they tie off their boats. We already went over that. Same on this side. When she came in to fly in, she landed on the water. Her plane came in at an angle like this and stuck in the sand. Nick can't push it out by himself. Nick can't push it out with Raven. They're just not strong enough. So he's going to have to use his Suburban. So what does he do? He asks Raven if there's anything that he can tie onto underneath the plane or behind it or somewhere. She notifies him there's 2 areas that have these huge apparatuses that look like this. It look like a big old donut underneath. One's on the right, one's on the left. So if they ever need to tow the plane, they hook onto that with big old chains and they just pull it because it's on the water, right? She goes, that's where they are. He said, now pay attention. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to take this Kevlar. It's one piece. I'm going to fold it in half like this. I'm going to take one side of the Kevlar and I'm going to tie it to that loop underneath the plane. I'll take the other side, I'm going to go to the other side and tie it to the other loop. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this other part of the Kevlar and tie it just like this with a hoop in it. And where that light is up blinking, where they tie off the boats and all that from the little tower, he's going to run that through the loop, and he's going to take this little hoop that he's made, and he's going to attach that onto his ball hitch. And he's going to, once he pulls it, he's going to pull her plane right out, just like this. And that's what he does. He sure does. He's got to get in that water, and that water's cold, boy. It might be July, but it's still cold. We're talking Alaska here. Brr. He jumps down in there. He's got that Kevlar. He gets up under there. He's tying it. Comes back up. He goes back down. He's tying it up real good. He takes that. He strings it around. He backs up his Suburban to that tower where that light is a-blinking. He gets up on his bumper there. Then he gets up on the roof. And he takes that Kevlar and he runs it through the little hoop where they tie off the boats and such, right? Because there's like all the way down. He goes to the highest one, puts this down like this, and puts it on his ball hitch. That's what he does, boy. And he pulls that plane right out of the sand. Oh boy, he saves the day, doesn't he? He sure does. That's using ingenuity right there. He fires up that Suburban. It's got a V8 in it, and it's just nothing. It's like butter. Just pulls that plane right out. Well, she's got it staked off, so it's not going to float away. She's yelling at him, "We gotta be, that's enough, it's free, it's free." He stops his vehicle, he races over there, and he's helping her hold that rope so that way the plane just kind of stays neutral. She takes out the ice stake out of the sand, right, gets that rope, she jumps in her plane. She's like, "Oh, thank you so much." She's got the door just propped up, open a little bit, and they're kind of screaming at each other. He's on the beach, she's in the plane. He's like, "So when can I see you next?" She's like, I'll be here next Sunday." She fires up that plane. Takes off. Oh, yeah. Oh, Nick's feeling pretty good about himself. Because I tell you what, before she flew off, he could not untie the Kevlar up underneath the plane because it done floated away a little bit. So he had to get up under there and cut it. And I tell you what, to cut Kevlar is a pain. It's really tough. Even if you got a razor, it's tough. So he had to get up underneath there, and he had to cut that off before she took off. Right? Because he couldn't untie it. Tie a couple of knots in Kevlar and see if you can get that out in a timely manner. You're not going to. So he had to get up there in the water and cut that off. She had to go and do her trips, right? So hell, he's thinking to himself, okay, he's looking at his watch because old Nick, he had one of those real fancy watches. He had the kind of watch you can hook up to Bluetooth and you have a little conversation with people. You don't even need your cell phone. You just key that in, right? Somebody on your, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? You're coming over for lunch? Hey, pick me up some. It's just crazy. I mean, this watch costs like maybe $300. Ridiculous. But he's got a really good watch. He's looking at it and he's like, oh, well, look what time it is. It's like, you know, the afternoon there. Late morning, early afternoon. So he figures he's going to be there for sure. Make sure there's not another issue. In case he's got to use his ingenuity again, you know. So Sunday rolls around the following week, and here she comes. And she's got to really be slowing it down. She's got to make sure that she pulls it back a little bit, slows it down so she doesn't get stuck in the sand again over there at Perth Beach. She starts slowing down. And she coming in for a landing. She hits on there just like glass. She comes in and she's gliding in. And it's perfect landing. Yep, the bottom part of those little buoys, they just barely just tap it right there. She jumps out. She got the waders on. She got the rope. She got the ice stake with medicine and the paperwork. She races up there. Ting, 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 ting. She ties off her plane. She races over there. She's kind of jogging. She's feeling good because it was a perfect landing. She sees that yellow box, lifts open the lid, puts the medication in there with the paperwork, closes the lid, comes back down to the plane. Oh, man. Who's standing there? Old Nick standing there just by her plane going, hey, how you been? You're late. He's looking at his watch. You're late. She goes, I am not. You're just kidding around with her, right? He goes, listen, before you go, you got like 15 minutes? We can have a little chatty-do? She's like, yeah, I can give you 15 minutes. He goes, so how'd everything work out? She goes, I bet you the mechanics kind of flipped out when they saw that Kevlar tied to the bottom of that and all cut off. They're probably thinking, who knows what they were thinking. She goes, no, I explained it to him. She goes, matter of fact, I have to admit that was such ingenuity that you had there to pull my boat out. I even told my father about it because, hell, he's mechanically inclined and he really appreciated that kind of story. And plus, you saved his daughter from just awful embarrassment. She reached over, she gave him a little hug, a little peck on his cheek, right? So he's all, you know, he's feeling pretty good about himself, right? Mr. Ingenuity, that's what you kept calling him, Mr. Ingenuity. Even though he introduced himself as Nick, right? So they get sparking up a conversation. He starts asking her, so where are you from? And vice versa. She says, well, I'm a native. I was born here. I went to school and all that stuff. She asked him, where are you from? He said he's from Montana, but he worked the ranch and sometimes he made some money in the oil fields over there in North and South Dakota, saved up some money so he could lease this little mining claim, right? Things are going good, man. Things are going so good for him. And again, he's not making $1 million, but like I said before, he knows how to work the land, live the land. He's making a little bit of money, just enough to get by, I guess. Pretty happy. So then he notices that, oh, Raven there, she's got looked like a shoestring around her neck. It's just the funniest looking thing, right? Oh, Nick says to her, he goes, what's that shoestring around your neck? Well, she pulls out this shoestring around her neck. It's like a homemade necklace. And what's on the shoestring? Well, she's got a whistle. She's got like dog tags and one key. He goes, what's this all about? She goes, well, the whistle is for is sometimes I'm flying in all these remote areas, and if the, God forbid, if the plane were to crash, well, and there's other villages or villagers nearby, I'd blow on the whistle and they'd know where I was at. He goes, well, what are these? She goes, well, those are equivalent to my dog tags. So that way, if I'm trying to get to a location and I crash and I'm not able to blow the whistle, let's say I don't make it or something, that when they find me later, whether it's a couple of days or a year or 10 years, they'll see those little metal tags. They know my name, they have my address, my license number, and all that stuff. He goes, well, what's the key to? She goes, well, the key is to my house. She goes, you can't be flying all these locations and picking up this and that package and running around with purses and all that garbage. So I just carry my key around my neck because I got to have it with the whistle and my dog tags anyway. He's like, oh, okay. And she goes, I got to get going. I really hate to cut it short, but I got to get going because I'll be out here next Sunday. I'll be out about the same time. I promise I won't be late this time. So at least their meeting there is a little bit more friendly, right? Because after all, he did save the day. She says to him like this. She says, listen, before I go, I did want to tell you, here's my number. On a piece of paper, she's got written out her full name and her telephone number. Not her satellite phone, no. Just a regular cell number, right? In town. She goes, listen, I want you to call me up. I want you to call me up when you're all done with this because, as soon as the snow flies, I'm not going to be able to land here. And chances are you're not going to be prospecting for gold when there's snow on the ground. He goes, no, I'll be in Anchorage. She's like, well, I'm there too, so it'll work out. Maybe we can go out and do beers. She goes, matter of fact, I tell you what, I will buy you all your drinks for an entire night, and it'll all be on me. Because you saved me. You did. You saved me from, you don't even know. Because you're on. You're on. So, she fires up that plane. Takes off, right? He's out there, he's prospect, old Nick's doing his thing, he's feeling pretty good. He's got Raven's telephone number. This beautiful thing, man, that doesn't happen very often. Just let me tell you something right now. The male-female ratio in Alaska, especially Anchorage, is probably 20 to 1. At least 10 to 1. You're going to have 10 males for every 1 female. It's pretty high, right? Whew. So that doesn't happen every day. Old Nick, he's feeling pretty good about himself. So, once again, following Sunday, right on time, she perfect landing again. Just like always, she hops out. She's got her waders on. She's got that ice stake, that rope. Ting, ting, ting. She's tying off her plane. She races over, drops off the medication, lifts the lid up, puts the medication with the paperwork. She closes the lid. She races off back to her plane, takes that ice stake out, right? Who's standing there? Of course, you guessed it. Oh, Nick. She's kind of like holding on to her plane. He goes over there, gets kind of close with her, and holds that plane with her. They're having a little talk. They're getting real friendly now. I'll tell you something. It's something else. Ask a little bit more personal questions. She starts asking old Nick if he's married and such. You got any kids? Ever been married? If you got property? You got a house, a condo, apartment with it? He's asking about the same sort of questions. Of course, they're all no. Right? He's just living in Anchorage. He doesn't own a house. He's just in his, condo-looking thing, renting a place somewhere. Hell, she's got a condo she's paying off just slowly at a time. So they're asking a little bit more personal questions. Because both of them are fancying each other, aren't they? Well, she's got to go. She gets up in her plane, takes off. Takes off. Well, hell, now, this is going on for weeks upon weeks. It's going to be the last Sunday now. Because I tell you what, it's starting to get cold. Weather's going to start changing. It's going to start snowing. She ain't going to be landing anywhere. And he ain't going to be prospecting for gold either. No way. It's going to be too cold. And you want to get stuck out there because you'll be stuck out there all winter. So he's got to start packing up his things, get ready to go. So it'll be last Sunday. Once again, she's right on time. She lands just perfectly. Once again, she hops out. She got the medication with the paperwork. She got the ice stick and the rope. She ding, 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 ding. Same as before. She comes back and she goes, you know what? I only have one other delivery instead of 2. So instead of 15 minutes, we can sit here and we can talk for a half an hour if you need to, or if you want to. He goes, yeah, that sounds good. So seeing that she's got her plane all staked off, and they're over there at the, Perth Beach, you got that little view going on. He's got his Suburban parked on that little dirt road there anyway. They go over there and they sit down in his Suburban and they get to talking about things and what they're going to do and once all their jobs are over with for the summer, early fall. Well, they talk about how they're going to meet up and she's going to buy all his drinks and such. She goes, so what kind of drinks do you like? Because, early in the game, Raven used to be a bartender, see? She's making all this money. She put herself through college, the whole 9 yards, with the help of her dad and that. She goes, I don't know, you kind of look like a bud man. He goes, no, actually, I like 5-star Napoleon, but if it wasn't so damn expensive, I'd have them on call at my house at all times, but it's so damn expensive, so I don't know. Johnny Walker Red or Black is good for me. She goes, oh, really, one of those, huh? You're not a beer guy, huh? Nah, not really. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. She goes, wow, you're going to be an expensive date because you know how much that is a shot. He goes, well, hopefully we get to some places free pour. You know what I mean? So they're making plans of getting together because they're both in Anchorage, right? And both of their jobs are going to come to a screeching halt because of weather and such. They're going to have maybe other employment or cash in their winnings, so to speak. And that's what they do. They have a nice talk. She gives him a big old hug there. Right before she leaves, she gets in her plane. She takes off. Takes off. Hell, Nick's got her phone number. Just a matter of calling her up, right? I mean, he reckons that she wouldn't give him a bad number, would she? I'm just going to have to find out, huh? So she's not coming back out to Perth Beach, and neither is he. He's getting all his prospecting equipment together. He's figuring out how much gold he found for the season. He did pretty good. Hell, he's probably got a little bit over $10,000. He's not doing bad. So he takes off and he heads on back to Anchorage there. He's just going to live his life just like he's been doing, and he'll wait for the next season, go back out there prospecting. Hell, at the same time, you have old Raven. She's trying to learn how to land on the snow. Because they got these certain kind of planes you can actually land on the snow. It doesn't have wheels. It's got like skis looking things. She's trying to figure all that out. She's taking some online classes. She's going to these different people and she's plucking their brains, other people that have experience. Oh, I tell you what, she's on top of it, right? So hell it is, months go by. She's thinking, well, shoot, why didn't Nick call Raven? That's what Raven's saying. Why didn't he call me? Then she gets making excuses for him. Well, maybe he forgot my number. Maybe he got busy. Maybe he went back to Montana. She doesn't have his number. She gave Nick her number, right? December 15th. Who calls? Oh, Nick calls up Raven. She answers the first try. Hello. She didn't recognize the number, but for some reason she just picked it up. Hello. On the other side, it's old Nick. It's like, Raven, how you doing? This is Nick. Remember me? She goes, Nick, and she's just playing, right? She's like, Nick, would that be the guy, you work at the grocery store? He goes, no, I'm Mr. Ingenuity. You remember? She goes, of course I remember. How have you been? And they get to talking and carrying on. They're on the phone for like hours. Hours. having a big old chatty-do. They're giggling, laughing, carrying on and about. They're trying to make plans. He's trying to coax her into taking him out for all-night drinking and such, because he's going to hit that Johnnie Walker Red and Black, right? He's going to be busy. He's going to be an expensive date. So, she says to Nick, she says, listen, what are you doing for Christmas Eve? He goes, well, I'm not doing anything. I was just going to stay in the house and maybe have a few, build a big old fire, watch a little bit of television, maybe Netflix, something like that. What are you doing? She goes, well, I'm not doing anything either. And I tell you what, how about if we do this? She goes, well, how about if you pick me up and we'll go over to my dad's house. I got to give him his gifts and such, right? Wish him a Merry Christmas. It'll take like 5 or 10 minutes maximum. Maximum. You could even stay in the vehicle. It'll be that quick. And then what we'll do, we'll go over to a bar I used to work at. They're open on Christmas Eve until midnight. They usually are open till 2 o'clock, but on Christmas Eve they're going to close at midnight. She goes, we'd meet there, and I'll buy you anything you want to drink, then I'll drive your vehicle back to your place, and we'll do that. How's that? He goes, that sounds like a fine idea, right? So, they make these plans. That's what they're going to do. Because after all, Mr. Ingenuity did save her. And she knows it. She kind of does owe him. She owes a big, bud. For real. So here it is, about 6:30 p.m. And he's got to make sure that she's going to take him out there and get him, let's say, have a little bit of partying, because he's going to be hitting that Johnnie Walker Red and Black, right? So he makes sure he has a big old meal, because the only way to really enjoy yourself when you go out drinking and such, have a big old supper. Make sure you have the potatoes and steak, and make sure you have a lot of bread, because it absorbs, right? You got to make sure you're full, so that way you can last longer, so to speak, right? So he eats really good. He decides he's going to have to meet with her at 7 o'clock. She actually drives over to his house in her car. Then they get in his big old Suburban. It's got a V8. It's got 4-wheel drive, but so does hers. But he just has a better vehicle in the weather. That's all. Big old tires on it and such. So she drives over to his place. They get in his Suburban. She's got the package and the present she's going to give to her father. He lives about 6 miles away from that bar, see? So they drive on down the road, and she's like, okay, that's the bar we're going to. And he's like, okay. They're headed on down the road. They started getting up these peaks, and they're running alongside the water there. So what you got is you got like a couple little trees, maybe some little gullies and such, and on the right-hand side you got the hills, big forest area, right? They're kind of like traveling along the waterway. They're headed to her father's house. Now her father, he's mean. I'm going to tell you that right now. He is mean. Every single male friend she's ever brought over, he's just mean as can be. But Nick's kind of special, see? Because, hey, he's a nice guy. And she's kind of thinking to herself, her dad better not be mean. She's going to put her foot down. You got me? They drive on out there, and they go to her dad's house, and you can tell it's his house, too. You can tell he's been living there a long time, because they're like 1972 Buick sitting over there, and things all rusted and that. You got another vehicle, like late 70, looked like it was set on fire, and then you got another one upside down, and it's just crazy, right? She goes over there, she rings the door. This big man, he answers the door. Big man. Big old burly corn-fed, big bushy eyebrows. He opens the door. She's like, hi, Dad, Merry Christmas. She's got this little present for him. Her dad sees Nick kind of standing quietly, kind of behind her. He's kind of out of the vehicle, standing right there, just real quiet. He's like, who are you? Being all mean and that. And immediately Raven says, Dad, that is Nick. just settle down. Remember when I told you that he saved me? And that's the guy that saved me. You be nice. Say Merry Christmas to him. Her dad's looking all mean to him. He's like, Merry Christmas. She's like, Dad, tell him Merry Christmas. Be nice. She kind of like kicks him a little bit. Merry Christmas, son. She makes him be nice, right? Here you got old Raven, 5'7", 145 pounds, tell this big old monster what to do, and he does it. It's something else. See, her dad, even though he's as old as he still kind of works here and there, even though he's retired. But you know how it is. You're a working man until you die, right? So she turns around, she gives her dad a big old hug and a big old kiss, right? She's like, Merry Christmas, Dad, Merry Christmas. She turns right back around. Nick gets in the Suburban, she gets on the passenger side. They're driving down the road. Hell, they only got to go 6 miles. 6 miles until they get to the beers and the bar there to drink his scotch and whatever he's drinking, all his whiskey and beer, whatever he wants. Right? He turns on the radio. Nick turns on the radio, and Raven's on the passenger side. He's driving down the road. That song, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, comes on. They both start singing in unison. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Wish you a Merry... And they're singing in unison. It's a good old time. She's laughing her ass off. And a Happy New Year. And she turns around. She grabs his arms. And she's so happy. She's so jovial. She grabs his arm to kind of embrace him. And as soon as she does, he loses control. Yeah. And right off the side of the road they go. But here's a good thing. Nobody gets hurt. Hell, the airbags didn't even go off. The lights are still on. The radio's working. There's the exhaust still coming out. There's no damage to the vehicle at all. Hell, it just went off in the gully. That's all there is to it. Because when you look out the windshield, it's just like a little meadow area. It's like a little gully. That's it. But behind them, there's these big trees and all the branches. Or put it this way, if that would have happened like a foot back, it would have just destroyed the back end of his vehicle. But it didn't. She's not hurt. He's not hurt. It's all right. But the bad thing is, it's Christmas Eve. And the only way you're going to be able to get out of that mess is with a tow truck. A tow truck. Or another truck that has a winch on it. You are not getting out of that pickle. Right? And he knows that. So hell, it's dark. It's Christmas Eve. You try to call AA... You try to call insurance, you try to call tow truck, you can forget it because it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it'll be a 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 hour wait because there's other people in worse situations, right? It's not a good thing. So here they are. When the truck went off the road, it's trying to slid down like this. Again, no damage. It just needs to be pulled out of there with a winch or a tow truck, right? Saddlebag. They're in a pickle. He starts thinking to himself, he says, listen. He looks over at Raven and he says, listen. We are about probably 4.2 miles away from the bar. Or from your place in that area. We could get out of the vehicle and try to walk it. But it's probably not a good idea. Because in Alaska, in the forest, they have these things called wolves. They also have those things called coyotes. And when they run in packs, doesn't matter what kind of metal protector you have, you stand little to no chance for survival. It would be very dangerous. Probably not a good idea. So it's best that we wait until it's light. So if we have to make that trip, we can walk up the embankment, get on the main road, hopefully flag someone down if they even drive by. But even if they don't, we have a clear path into town. She's not real happy about that because she's wanting to go to the bar. She's wanting to take him out. It was going to be her treat. She's paying for everything. But that's reality, once again. It's too dangerous to do it. They're going to have to wait until the morning, which is going to be Christmas Day. Hell, it's about 7:30 now. 7:30 at night. He turns on the radio and he gets to thinking, wait a minute, it's starting to snow. And I tell you what, these big old snowflakes coming down, these were like Texas snowflakes. They're big old snowflakes. They look like paper towels flying out of the sky. Big snowflakes, right, in comparison. And it's starting to stack up. He's got his windshield wipers on. You know, kind of like staccato, where they're not like constantly going just every couple of minutes, right? He gets to think, well, wait a minute, it's starting to snow. I got to make sure that all the snow is cleared out from the back to make sure the exhaust is going at all times. Because I tell you what, if you get fouling up or you get snow in there, clumps of snow back in the exhaust, it's going to foul out the whole vehicle. You're not going to start it again. Consequently, you ain't going to have heat. So Nick goes back in the back of his Suburban. He opens up one of the side panels there. He pulls out a little shovel he's got there, right? Because he's got that shovel when he does prospecting. He hops out of there and he goes to the back where the exhaust is. He's digging a big parameter all the way down to almost where it's ice, where it's the ground, making absolutely sure that that's not going to be impeded upon, because they're going to need that heat. They got to be in that vehicle for at least 12 hours, because it's not going to get light for a long time. So he does that. He knows these things, because he's got experience out there in the forests and woods and carrying on near lakes and that. So he gets done with that. He hops back in. There's snow built up there on the sides of the windows and stuff and such. So he turns up the windshield wiper, so it's like, you know, a little bit quicker. Got the radio going on. She's kind of curled up there, even though it's nice and warm in the Suburban. She's getting a little bit tired. Right? He reaches back there. He's got a couple of water bottles. Because when he's doing the prospect, you got to have fresh water, right? She's sipping on that. She's nursing that water there. They're talking about just small talk and such. She's kind of depressed because she had the whole night planned out. She's going to take him out drinking, carrying on, having a good time. She's going to give him a really nice present and such. She's going to give him something else too, if you give him a meaning. But now she's in this dilemma, and so is he. They're spending Christmas Eve in the back of a Suburban. Because I'll tell you what he does. He reaches over, he gets one of these mats, puts down the seats in the back of the Suburban, so it's all flat, and he rolls down this little mat, makes a little bed, got little blankets and all. Both of them go back there. They lay down. They're doing a little bit of spooning and all. Here it's snowing. He reaches over and he turns off the windshield wipers. He's still got the radio just real low. He's got the headlights still on. The exhaust is, of course, still working. The heat's on. They're all cuddled up and such. Back of that Suburban. And that's the best way to buy time, is to sleep. Because you know how sometimes you go to sleep and it feels like you were asleep for 15 minutes, but you were really asleep for 10 hours? Yeah, it's kind of like that. So they're all cuddled up and such, and they're talking a little bit, and then old Raven, she kind of just falls asleep. She's out, buddy. Right? She falls asleep about 9:30. Well, on Nick, he doesn't fall asleep till probably about 10. But before he falls asleep, gets back out, gets that shovel, and he digs around where the exhaust is, right? Make absolutely sure. He's got a big old perimeter there, boy, all the way down to the ground. So it'd have to snow like 3 feet to cover it all up, right? And that's not going to happen. So he nestles down, he goes to sleep about 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden, 12 o'clock hits, and oh, Nick, he's got that watch. Remember we were talking about that, how you can talk on cell phone, Bluetooth and all that, about $300 worth of watch. It's outrageous. Not even a Timex. But anyway, he looks at this big old watch, and Why is he looking at his watch? It wakes him up because this alarm goes off. He's got a little chimer on it. So when it hits for the next day, it's going to... You're shouting away. Now, hell, it's Christmas morning, right? He goes over to Raven. He moves her hair back just a little bit. He whispers in her ear, Merry Christmas. She's like, all groggy. She's like, Merry Christmas. She fades off. They're both cuddled up there. He fades off too a couple of minutes later. And all of a sudden there's a noise like, and it wakes both of them up. Boy, it's loud too. And again, something is falling on the roof. And it's loud, buddy. Real loud. They're both looking out the windows. They can't see out the windshield because he turned off the windshield wipers and the snow is accumulated on the windshield, so they can't see out that way. They can't see out the back way for the same reason. There's a little bit of snow on the side windows, but it's not coming from the side, it's coming from the roof. What the hell? Again, boy, it's scary. Their hearts are just racing, man. They don't know what's going on. Of course, the radio's still on, the heat's still on, there's the exhaust still going out, so the engine's still on. And old Nick, he reaches over and hits that damn thing for the windshield wipers. And the windshield wiper, because there's a lot of snow on there, so it takes a little bit to get it off of there. They look out the window, both Nick and Raven, just like this. They can't believe what they're seeing. And you ain't going to believe what they're seeing either, because I don't even believe what they're seeing. And Nick goes from shock to suddenly like, what the? Nick reaches over and he hits a high beam. So it lights up, both up and down. And what's right in front of them? Because you remember, when they came down that embankment, it's just like a little gully and it's kind of open field, but behind them is these big old trees with the branches that are hanging over, right? Oh, yeah. But what's in front? I'll tell you what's in front. There's this monstrous, and I do mean monstrous, ice crystal Christmas tree right in front of them. And at the top of the tree is this torch, and the flame is just a... And all the little embers coming off the flames, they look like little stars. Oh my God, it's magnificent. Oh, jeez, it's crazy. This is the wildest thing. Here it is about 2 o'clock in the morning. Right? Oh, Nick's looking at his watch. Whoa, what is going on? I thought it was like, I just wish her a Merry Christmas. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. They're seeing this huge. This thing is monstrous. It's so large. I can't even explain it. It's so large. It dwarfs that vehicle, and that flame that is coming off is going in so many different directions because the wind is a blowing. That flame is just a following the wind. And you know what the noises were? Because that flame was a burning and it was melting the snow on them branches. The big clumps of snow were falling down on the roof of his Suburban. That's what was going on. And it woke him up, and it alerted him to this massive crystal Christmas tree. This ice crystal Christmas tree. Oh, wow. The windshield wipers are going. Still kind of snowing a little bit, but not as hard as it was. They keep hearing stuff falling on the roof. And right dead center of this massive ice crystal Christmas tree looked like a doorway with a stone border around the doorway. They're fascinated. They can't even believe it. So Nick looks at Raven and says, Merry Christmas. What do you think? You want to take a walk? It would be an adventure. Raven looks over at Nick. She's wide awake now because she was scared to death before because she's hearing all these noises. They thought they were being attacked, but they weren't. It was just snow. So they get on their things, they put on their hats and they put on their gloves. He just leaves the radio and the lights on and everything. They're pinching each other to make sure they're awake, they're not dreaming, not seeing things, right? They both hop out of the vehicle. Oh, Nick grabs Raven's hand. Says, hang on to my hand real tight in case something goes wrong. We're going to take a walk. We're going to find out what's in that big old Christmas tree. Alright? That ice crystal Christmas tree. So they start walking. They get about 3 paces over there, and the closer they get, that big, monstrous torch that is on top of this ice crystal Christmas tree, it's massive. We're talking like a ball of fire like this, and all the embers with the little stars that are coming off of it, right? And as soon as old Nick gets over there to the doorway, it's like pitch black, but there's a little teeny weeny light way in the distance. He's determined to go in there. He's going to go there with Raven. They're ready to go. Oh, Nick looks at Raven and says, are you sure you want to do that? She goes, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? It's Christmas. So they decide they're going to do just that. They get over to the door, and sure enough, there's a stone. It's all carvings and stuff, right? These leaves and plants and flowers and whatever the heck it is, right? Around the base of this doorway. Around the frame, see? Oh, Nick gets to think, well, hang on a second. He goes there and puts his foot down and makes sure it's solid, right? Because they do it, oh, right? Oh, it's solid, all right. But it's so dark in there. And all they can see is a teeny weeny little light at the end of this tunnel looking thing, right? This doorway. So Nick's got Raven's hand. He's hanging on real tight, too. She's hanging on tight, too. She doesn't want to get lost. They're going into the unknown. They start walking in there, and it's just, I'm telling you, it's so dark in there, and they only see one thing, and that's that light ahead. Then they get in there about a quarter of the way through, and they turn around. Sure enough, they can see the lights still illuminating inside the doorway of this big old ice crystal Christmas tree, right? So they get about maybe 25 feet away from this light source at the end of the tunnel in the doorway of the ice crystal Christmas tree. And Raven goes, what the? She starts getting all uptight. He's like, what the what? They start walking a little bit closer, and she's like, what the? And he goes, what the? What? She doesn't say anything. With her other hand, she starts going, what the? He's like, what the what? She goes, that is my front door. He goes, what the? How could that be your front door? Both of them, in unison, look behind themselves. Look behind from themselves, and they look to see if they can see the vehicle. They sure can. That's a Suburban with the lights on high beam. It's still there. So how in the heck could this be her front door? Her front door is miles and miles away. No way. That's impossible. So they start walking a little bit faster. And sure enough, it's her front door. She goes, listen, Nick, I swear, this is my front door. Truly. So she reaches over to turn the doorknob, but she can't open it up because it's locked. Oh, that's all right, because you know what she does? She pulls that frickin' shoestring she's got around her neck with that whistle or dog tags and that key to her condo there, right, to her place. She takes off her little necklace there, she puts in the key, opens the door. She can't even believe it. She opens that door and they both walk in. She's looking around. She sees her answer machine a little blinking on how many messages she has. She goes over there. She opens the refrigerator. Everything's in the refrigerator. Even the light in the refrigerator comes on. She looks over at the clock on the microwave. And hell, it's like, it's creeping up on 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas early morning, right? She doesn't even believe this. She's crazy. She hits the answer machine there, listen to how many people called and such. Hey, how you doing, Raven? How you doing? I just want to tell you, yeah, this is Crystal. Merry Christmas. I hadn't talked to you forever. All right, well, have a good one. Then, hi, honey. This is your mom. Just wishing you a Merry Christmas. She can't even believe it. She goes, hang on a second. Stay right there. So she goes. She walks up the stairs. She walks into her bedroom, and she looks out the window, and she sees all the water, but of course there's ice on it now. She sees all the little bitty lights across the water, right? It's like nothing has changed. What's going on? But how did they get there? Well, they got there by walking in a doorway of this ice crystal Christmas tree that just pops out of nowhere. She doesn't know what to think. She doesn't know what to think. She's in awe. She just doesn't even understand what's going on. But she doesn't care. She goes downstairs. She goes over to Nick, and she's trying to help him take his coat off. She says, take your coat off. It's nice and warm in here. She takes his coat and hangs it up there. She takes off her hat and her gloves and all that stuff. She goes over to Nick. She says, Nick, I just want to tell you, I'm one of those type of people who live in the moment. I'm not really concerned about tomorrow. I'm not really concerned about yesterday. But I'm living for the moment. And it's as strange as all of this truly is. You know, my whole intention was to take you out to make sure that I repaid you for your ingenuity, Mr. Ingenuity, because you really saved me. And I appreciate it. And plus, you're a real nice guy and all. So I just wanted to thank you. And I want you to have this gift that I got you, because I planned on giving it to you anyway. He's kind of dumbfounded. He's thinking, wow, that's a lot of heavy information in a short time. She's like, just have a seat on the couch. He goes over there. He plunks down on the couch. He's sitting there all quiet and patiently. She races over. She's got this box about like this. And it's real nice, too. Oh, it's real nice. She's got a nice little bow. She's got these 3 little freaking bows around it. And the paper is all glistening and shiny, almost like tin foil, but it's golden. She sets it on the coffee table. Oh, here you go. Merry Christmas, Nick. He goes, man, I'm sorry, but your gift is at my house. She goes, don't even worry about it. This is your night, Nick. This is your night. He goes, no, it's our night. She goes, whatever, just open your gift. Okay. So he goes in there and he's trying to be all careful and that, because, you know, she took a lot of time wrapping this thing up. You can tell. He undoes the bow and takes it apart and such. He opens up the gift there and takes all the paper off. There's a cardboard box, nothing fancy, no special label on it. He's kind of confused. He doesn't even know what to expect. He opens this thing up and you ain't gonna believe it, because I don't believe it, and she believes it because she bought it. She turned around and bought him 5-star Napoleon. Sure did. Oh boy, he's happy now. He goes, this calls for a celebration. Why don't you get us some glasses? She races off to the kitchen, gets some glasses, gets 2 rocks glasses. On Nick there, he opens up the bottle and he's pouring for her and pouring for himself. Ladies first and all, you know. He puts on the cap. He goes to make a toast. He goes, you know what? We had a good time. We've had a lot of laughs today, and you're a real beautiful person. You're a beautiful person on the outside and the inside. Nick is telling this to Raven. He goes, so you know what? I'd like to make a special toast to you, and I mean it. She's like, okay. She's holding up the glass, and he says, here's to me, here's to you, here's to old, and here's to new. They clink the glasses, they drink that. I tell you what, They're having a drink after another, because they're living the moment. And after all, it is Christmas. Might be early Christmas, because it's early Christmas Day in the early morning. Hell, by that time, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 creeping on. She reaches over, she grabs on Nick's shirt like this, says, "You're coming with me." Both of them, they ain't drunk, but put it this way, they're in the Fresca department, if you know my meaning. So she grabs the shirt. They both walk up the stairs there, go into the bedroom. They start hugging and kissing. And ladies, I'm telling you something right now. We're not talking about just everyday kisses. No, we're not. We're talking about lost kisses. You know what I mean? And to have a lost kiss is rare, but it happens. Because when you start kissing somebody that you're really into, you get lost. You got me? Oh boy, that's what they were. There was a bunch of them lost kisses. Then they laid down and getting busy. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Then they're both laying there after they get all done with their lesson, their skiing lesson and all. They're laying there, they're having a little chatty-do and laughing about how they first met over there at Perth Beach. Right? How he used his ingenuity to get them out. So then they decided, whew, they're tired. They've had quite the night. So they fall asleep. Hell, they don't wake up till about 1:30 p.m. Same day. But hell, in the afternoon by now. And Raven is the very first person to wake up. She's like, She looks out the window. Oh yeah. There's just a little bit of snow coming down. Just real teeny tiny flakes, you know what I mean? Right? She's like pushing on the shoulders and back of old Nick there. She's like, "Wake up, come on, we gotta get up, we gotta get you Suburban and all that stuff." He's like, oh, he's so tired, right? She's like, "Come on, let's go take a shower." He goes, "What, together?" She goes, "Yeah, it saves on water." Yeah, it does. It sure does, right? They hop out of bed, they go over there to the shower, they get in the shower together, and he's washing her hair, and she's washing his hair. She's like washing his back, and he's got out the pumice, you know, he's like doing her feet and such. Oh boy, I tell you something else. They get done with their nice shower. They got the towels, and he's drying her hair, and she's drying his. Right? It's just something else, isn't it? She goes down, she's, you know, has a little bowl of cereal, offers him one. He's like, nah, I gotta get ready. He's putting on his coat and such, putting on his cap and his gloves. She's finishing up with her little cereal there. She puts on her coat and her hat and all that sort of stuff. Ah, darndest thing. They're getting ready to walk out the door. She opens up that door, and they both walk out the front door there, and what did they see? Yeah, both of their jowls hit the floor. They're looking at about like this. They're looking at each other. They're looking over. And what are they seeing? Well, it just happened to be Nick's navy blue Suburban sitting right out front. And it got a big, huge bow on it. Huge. Right on top. Made out of Kevlar. Gosh, I wonder who did that. I'm Monograph, and if you can't speak freely, you're simply not free.